Join me in welcoming Dmitry Shapiro, who will be showing you the Google Power Tools and how to become a Google Ninja. Enjoy.
Thank you. Wow, what a great group of folks we got here. This feels like Spinal Tap, right? We're going to do a free-form jazz exploration for you guys here. So my name is Dmitry Shapiro. I'm the CEO of a company called VO. It's an online video service and has nothing to do with Google whatsoever. And so people say, well, why are you up here teaching people how to use Google? And I guess there are a number of reasons. One is it is a bit selfish, quite frankly. I meet people all the time that I'm trying to hire, and they come in for interviews, and I look at their resume and I ask them a bunch of questions, and what I realize is, even though they've got these amazing resumes, they've done a lot of things in their life, they're what I call digitally illiterate. They think they know how to use a computer, and they can sort of stumble around the internet, but for the most part, they're so slow at doing what I need done, I simply can't use them. And so, in my searches for these, digitally literate people, I found that most of the world is, again, at this digital illiterate point. How many of you have ever taken a class on how to use Google or use email or any of these kinds of things? Nobody, by the way, I haven't either. And that's the problem. We've all kind of learned on our own, and what we don't realize is we're really just skimming the surface. We really don't know how to be power users of these tools. We're simply using them in a rudimentary fashion. So we're going to focus a little bit on Google today. This is actually part of a much larger thing that I do. As a side project, really a passion project, I've created this thing called Weekend University, where I teach a one-day class called Internet Power from Average User to Power User in one day. It's an 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. class taught on a Saturday. In fact, the next one is being taught this Saturday at UCLA, where I teach people of kind of a very broad set of tools, this being a small part of that. But anyway, let's jump into this. How many of you use Google? That's a stupid question, actually. How many of you don't use Google? All right, we got a couple. And why don't you use it? Use some other search engine, or you're Yahoo? You work for Yahoo? All right. Well, then I'm not going to say anything bad about Yahoo. Most people, as we know, use Google, and what they do is they go to Google homepage, and in fact, most people don't even realize that over here on browsers you have a search bar, and they don't know how to get to it. In fact, if on Firefox, if you push Control-K, it will automatically put you into that bar, and it's just like searching Google is from going to Google. And they say, look, I use Google all the time. I know how to do it. I just put in keywords. And so I said, great, if we want to do a search for Barack Obama, we would search for Barack Obama, and this is what they'd get. What they don't realize is this search actually doesn't give them only Barack Obama. It gives them any document that has the word Barack and any document that has the word Obama. The actual search should be in quotes. All right, so this is the most simple of the Google operators, as they're called, Google commands, right, the quote command. And if I said, if I want to find documents with Barack Obama, but here's this Joe Biden character, I don't want Joe Biden in it, the command that we put in, again, they're called operators or command, would be minus, quote, Joe Biden. And by the way, you can look here on the right-hand side. It shows you the number of results you have. Now, Google, unfortunately, is very inaccurate in these number of results. When it's a small number, it's pretty accurate, kind of under 1,000. But when you get into these 92 million, don't pay too much attention to it. But what we get here is every instance of Barack Obama without Joe Biden. This first entry here isn't the result. It's actually a link to the news section of Google for also that search. Now let's say that we want, and by the way, we see this, it comes from many, many different sources. And one of the great things about the internet is that anything you type into Google, you find results for. One of the bad things is most of those websites are put up by people who don't necessarily have the same editorial integrity, ethics, fact-checking capabilities. Anyone can publish any information. So a lot of times it's inaccurate. What if we wanted to find something kind of more accurate? How could we do that? Well, one way you could do that is by going and typing in the command site:/gov, not G-I-V, G-O-V. Site:/gov. And what that will return are only websites that have Barack Obama, actually web pages that have Barack Obama minus Joe Biden, without Joe Biden, only on government websites. Take a look here. Congress.gov, change.gov, serve.gov, only government websites. And we've got 63,900 results. We've narrowed it down from 93 million to 63,000. If we wanted it only on congress.gov, we type in site:/congress.gov, you only get 51 results. By the way, when was the last time you got 51 results doing a Google search? For your name. That could be a good thing or a bad thing. That's discussed in the broader class. Let's do something else. There are other commands you can type in. For example, let's do site:/washington.edu, because I know they've got some information on Barack Obama. We've got 615 results. And look what I see here, this little PPT, right? What does this tell us? It tells us that Google actually indexes not just web pages, HTML pages and dynamic web pages, but it actually indexes lots of other types of documents, PowerPoints, Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PDFs, all kinds of things. And we can narrow down our search results by using a command, file type :PPT. And we screwed up somewhere. Let's see. Oh, I misspelled type. File type :PPT. 9 results. Here are 9 PowerPoints that talk about Barack Obama that do not mention Joe Biden on washington.edu. If I tried to open up one of them, of course, it'd bring up a box here for me to open up PowerPoint. I'll actually go ahead and do it so we can see here it is, the great PowerPoint about Barack Obama. Okay, so these are, again, these are called Google operators, Google commands that you can use. What are some other commands? Well, you remember I was telling you about people coming to interview with VO all the time, and I'm not much for formal educations. I graduated from Georgia Tech with a 2.1 GPA with a very big curve and a roundup. I couldn't get into graduate school, to save my life. And then what I find is kind of the more education people have, the more they rely on that education instead of really kind of working hard and figuring out how to be scrappy. And so I actually kind of look down on education, at least for working for me. I think it's great that people have this education, but it doesn't mean much to me. What I ask them is, they come in and they say, look, I've got this education, I've got this experience, and I say, great, but what can you do for me now? You're hired. You're in marketing, you're hired. What can you do for me? Tell me how to differentiate VO from our major competitors. And they look at me kind of dumbfounded and saying, how the hell should I know who your major competitors are? And so, it's expected that they're going to learn all these things on the job. Well, that's silly. But that's a pretty good question. How would you find VO's major competitors? Any ideas? Google, yes, that's good. Yeah, that's good. What would you type in? VO competitors? I like it. But how about this? Relatedvo.com. The related command shows you what Google thinks are services, sites, websites that are similar to VO.com. Let's see what Google has to say. By the way, you see that this result is a little bit different than the other results we've seen. So VO. You know what? We're just, instead of messing around with that, we can just do this here. Let me clear this, thank you. In fact, I'll zoom in if you guys have a hard time seeing this. Control plus will zoom us in. Can you see that? Yes, better? Okay, so you can see, in fact, I'll do one more here. You can see VO, of course, it is similar to VO. MetaCafe, Hulu, Google, AOL, Juiced, Gooba, Yahoo, Ustream, Blinks. So if you came in and said, well, I think, compared to MetaCafe or Hulu, you got this, this, and this, I instantly think, wow, this person kind of understands this space, rather than looking at me kind of dumbfounded. Now, how much time did it take to type in related: ? No time at all. It's a great command, use it. I'll give you another example. I was looking the other day for a mail service provider, basically, for email marketing. And the only one that I knew in the space was a company called MailChimp. So how do you evaluate competitors? MailChimp.com. And so you see Constant Contact, Campaign Monitor, iContact. This is using all of those billions and billions of searches that are done on Google and all of their algorithms to be able to search through this stuff. Okay, so you do? I like it. That's great. Good for you. Let's talk about some other commands. The tilde command. Does anyone know tilde? It's the little wavy line. Most people don't know that's what it's called. Do you guys know what that does in Google? It does a synonym search. So if you type in tilde food, tilde facts, Google will go out and it will find you things like nutrition facts and calories and all these things that are related. It basically automatically stems these words and finds all of the synonyms for these words. Pretty important command if you're not quite sure what you're searching for. How about the asterisk command? For score and blank years ago. So you can use the asterisk to expand phrases, right? It doesn't work on words, it just works on phrases. Other commands that you may use, if you have a website or if you're looking for things that are driving traffic to you, a great command to use is link. So I can say link:\vo.com. This will show me all of the web pages on the internet that link to the homepage of VO. And I can mix these operators, by the way. If I say link:\vo.com, site:\myspace.com, will find me all the pages on MySpace, MySpace, that link to VO or any other URL that you choose to point people to. And then let's play around with mixing some of these commands. How many of you use Craigslist? Site:, I live in San Diego, so I'm just going to do San Diego. .Craigslist. Or, can you see that? San Diego. So site:, sandiego.craigslist.org. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to look for BlackBerry Pearl minus T-Mobile. I don't like T-Mobile. If anyone's here from T-Mobile, I apologize. Between $100, $120. So the ... operator gives us number ranges. Sure. Can you see that? Site:, sandiego.craigslist.org, space, BlackBerry, space, Pearl. The minus sign says do not have T-Mobile in it. $100 and the ... operator, which gives us a number range. $120. And what we'll find are 20 results from San Diego Craigslist that have between $100 and $120, BlackBerry, not from T-Mobile, BlackBerry Pearl, not from T-Mobile. In fact, if you go to any website, don't use their search. That's silly, right? The best search on the internet, obviously minus for the folks that work at Yahoo, is Google. And so the site:, again, is a great command, right? You can say site:, techcrunch.com, search for VO. So this will give me only the results on VO that are here, right? And only VO with litigation, since that was the first result. We'll get 52 results. Again, you can narrow these things down very quickly if you know how to speak the language of Google. There are other things you can do that are pretty important. So let's say I looked for VO. I get 25 million results. Again, these numbers are horribly inaccurate. There's a reason for it. It's because Google is so large, it's constantly, trying to use many machines, and keeping all those machines syndicated as things are changing is very difficult. And so these results aren't accurate, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter for our discussion here. VO. And look, there are lots of articles here about VO. Some are specifically about VO because they have VO in the title. This is the title. Some are not, right? Universal Music sues video sharing site. This one happens to be specifically about VO, but it may not be. What you can do is instead of typing VO, you can type in title, VO. And what that means is it will restrict, and you'll see only 1 million results from 25 million. It will restrict the results to being only results that show the keywords that you're looking for in the title of the document. Now, why is that important? Well, I could argue that if somebody actually names their document with your keywords, the document's probably specifically about those keywords, rather than somebody simply commented somewhere on the page and used your word, right? And so in title is a great way to try to find relevance and narrow results down dramatically. You can do other searches like all in title, and all in title allows you to put in multiple keywords. So if I want in title to be not only VO, but also YouTube, and also Hulu, you'll see 23 results that have in the title all of the words that I'm typing in. So this is a great way to do research. You guys still with me? Yeah? Yes. Yes. Absolutely. By the way, I believe there are no stupid questions, just stupid answers. The search you would do would be Google operators. These are called operators. And you will see that there are lots and lots of things on Google operators. And you can learn all these things. By the way, there's nothing that I can teach you that I have not learned from the internet. I personally have never taken a computer class in my life, or a business class. Like I said, I was a very poor student. I got out of school as soon as they let me out, and I've never looked back. But I tell you, I'm pretty smart. And the reason I am pretty smart is because I have a computer in front of me. If I don't have a computer, I've got my cell phone. If I don't have my cell phone, I'm a complete moron, right? But with this, I'm pretty smart. How many of you watch, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, right? The little lifeline. I want to call my friend Joe because he's the smartest guy I know. I want to call my friend Google. He's the smartest guy I know, right? Because he knows everything. I just need to know how to search it. All right, and so that's what we're learning here. Okay, so Google operators is the answer to your question. So we look for in title. There are other things you can do. There's a command called in URL VO. And so what this does, you see these green results here. So everyone knows what a URL is, right? It's the web address, something.com or .edu or .gov, etc., and then the rest of the stuff. And again, in my longer class, I kind of drill down into it and we go into detail on how all the stuff works. I'm kind of giving you a quick view of this, but in URL, we'll make sure that VO appears somewhere in the URL of the document. Again, what does that mean? Well, that means the document's probably about that keyword that you're searching for. If somebody named a directory after it, or a domain after it, or a file after it, that probably means it's specifically about that topic. So you can use in URL, and of course you can also use all in URL. And again, let's try if there's something like that has VO and YouTube and URL. Well, absolutely you do. VO decision means for YouTube and others, right? So these things are pretty important. Now, most people think that Google actually indexes everything. That's actually not true. Google indexes most things, and because we type in keywords into Google and we always get a result, we think that we're getting access to everything, but we're really not. In fact, you really need to think about what it is that you're searching for before you start searching, right? So if you're doing research, for example, on something that's really important to you, you're going to make a business decision on. Again, just putting the keywords into Google is silly because all you get are random results in a sense. They're not random. Google actually has very smart algorithms that try to give you the most relevant results, but they're not necessarily the results you need. But again, using some of these commands that I've shown you, and there are another dozen commands or so that Google has that we didn't go over, you can narrow those things down. But really, if you know what you're searching for, you can do a little bit better. I'll give you an example. If you go to scholar.google.com, this is a part of Google that most people have never even heard of. Anyone heard of scholar.google.com? No? Let me raise this a bit. And I'll show you quick about Google Scholar. From one place, you can search across many disciplines: peer-reviewed papers, theses, books, abstracts, articles from academic publishers, professional societies, preprint repositories, universities, and other scholarly organizations. This is information that's more vetted than the average Joe that goes out there and throws up a blog post and Google indexes. And so if you do a search here for VO, right, you start to see all kinds of other types of documents that may be much more relevant that you can cite and truly be able to make decisions upon. So Scholar is a great one. By the way, before I forget, let me give you this little search. I like to do it for people just so they do it. This is the great search for file type. Let's do a search for the word confidential, minus non. Everyone understand what I'm doing? Site:/gov. These are documents on government websites that are marked confidential. File type : XLS. These are Excel spreadsheets on government websites that are marked confidential. Okay? You have a lot of power. Use it at your own, I'm not promising the Secret Service isn't going to be knocking on your door, but information is not going to be hidden. Okay, so a lot of people don't know, but Google has something called blog search, blogsearch.google.com. By the way, most of these things you can access through these things over here that most people don't look at. So Google indexes blogs, right, all of these things. Now, a lot of people don't understand the difference between a website and a blog. To them, it's kind of the same thing. Well, but to me, it's not the same thing. You know, websites, although they could be very similar, but websites to me are typically things that people are kind of formally putting stuff into, or blogs are places that they share their opinions. Now, some blogs are professional blogs and might as well be like a regular website, but you want to be able to differentiate between. So if you want to search for chatter, as I call it, let's say about your company, you can go to blogsearch.google.com and do a search here. By the way, all of those operators that I taught you work here as well. Minus, tilde, all of these things. And it has a couple of other operators, like in blog title. Does everyone understand that now? It's just like in title. If you want to know that the post is truly about the subject that you're looking for, in blog title is an operator. In post title, so not the blog itself, but the post within the blog. And then in post author and blog author, all these kinds of things that are pretty important to be able to search for stuff by. And of course, you can even get alerts. How many of you use RSS? Have an RSS dashboard set up? Right, so this is kind of where you'd get these kinds of things. Other places that you may look. This is something that also most people don't know about. Books.google.com. How many of you read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle? The Power of Now. Let's see what he has to say about love. So this searches over 7 million books. And you can search them directly, and it'll actually show you right in the book on what page, and give you a snapshot, even highlight for you, the word that I searched for, which was love. Why aren't we seeing it here? Oh, there it is. It's just hard to see. Love. But see, this talks about love, hate. I'm not into hate, so I'm going to say minus hate. And we're going to get a different page, right, that talks about, page 224 in this case, this is love rather than hate. So you're able to search through traditional books and magazines and all these other sources to find information. Okay, before I kind of jump into question and answer, I'm going to give you some other stuff here that you can use pretty quickly, just to get you excited about these operators. Now, this doesn't have anything to do with Google, because Google doesn't really index this very well yet. But if you go to search.twitter.com, how many of you use Twitter? How many of you use search.twitter.com? You even knew that that existed. Great. So Twitter has these things called Twitter operators. If you search for Twitter operators, you'll find the same types of operators as on Twitter. So you can do a search for, Michael Jackson. I suspect there's lots of talk about him, and we're going to put it in quotes. And we will see people talking about Michael Jackson 4 minutes ago, 4 minutes ago. You'll see some of these things have links. Maybe I want to find all the ones that have links. I can type in an operator called filter colon links. Now I get only posts with links in them. I could also do minus filter colon links. That would remove those links and only posts without links in them. Let's say I only wanted that in my local area. I can use a command called near. And near accepts cities or zip codes. What's the zip code here? Anybody know? I'll do mine, 92009. This is in Carlsbad, California. There it is, San Marcos, Carlsbad, Encinitas, Cardiff by the Sea. If any of you know the area, you'll realize these are all close to Carlsbad. And I can be more specific. I can type in the command within 10 miles. This lets you peer into the chatter, as I call it, right? The minds of now over 30 million people in the world that are constantly posting their thoughts. And if you know how to use these operators, you can narrow in to whatever it is that you're interested in. right? If you're interested in tracking what your competitors are doing, you know how to do it. If you're interested in looking at, and by the way, I know a lot of people that use that as their primary prospecting method. They will go and do searches for their competitors, you know, Hulu sucks, right? And then go and contact those people and say, hey, why don't you use VO? Here's why VO is better. There's a prospecting tool. My Camaro is broken. No problem, right? I'm a repair shop. Whatever it is, if you know how to use these things, you've got this capability to communicate with these people and use it for your own gain. So look, there are many different places that you can search for information. Again, we've kind of just taken a very quick look because we've had a limited amount of time here to do this, but hopefully this got you excited enough to start looking at many services have operators, LinkedIn, you know, Google, Twitter, et cetera, et cetera. And so do a search for whatever the service you're looking for and the word operator, and very quickly I think you'll find all kinds of things to do. If you're really interested in this kind of stuff, you know, I'd be happy to talk to you about coming to my class at UCLA on Saturday. If any of you are UCLA alumni or current students, there's a deep discount that's also available. So I'll take questions and maybe show you stuff to answer them. Yes?
What's the name of your class at Weekend University?
Yes, if you go to weekendu, the letter u.com, I can give you guys some cards as well. It'll show you the different classes that we offer. And this class that I teach is called Internet Power from Average User to Power User in 1 day. It's an 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. class that goes over this kind of stuff and really gives you hands-on experience. You want to bring your laptop, we'll talk about finding information, having information find you. You know, before I get up in the morning, literally before I go use the restroom, sorry to give you guys a visual, I open up a dashboard, and all I do is I click on my little, oops, can we get my, I'm not that good looking to have me up there. Can we get the stuff back on? Thank you. And so I clicked on a browser bookmark here and said open all in tabs, and this opened up a whole bunch of tabs for me that I use every day. So before I get up, I wake up, my computer's next to me, just like a Marine's rifle. If you all know the Rifleman's Creed, this is my rifle. There are many like it. This one's mine. I sleep with it right on my nightstand. Before I get up, I look at this thing. Now, I use something called NetVibes, right? And I'm able to see each one of these little boxes is a website. And I'm able to scan many websites before I get in the shower. And then shower, I do my best thinking. I don't know if any of you do your best thinking in the shower. Fortunately for me, I've got a white shower. I've got a little wax pencil. And I write all of my ideas down on the shower. I then bring my laptop in and I take them down. And as I'm driving to work, I would have already read dozens and dozens of websites and hundreds of articles about that. And that gives me a competitive advantage against most people that simply don't know how to read this stuff, right? There's no way I would go to all these websites in a single day by themselves, but I can very quickly scan through them and see that. So anyway, these are some of the kinds of things that I teach in the class. Thanks for the question. Other questions? Of this? This is, yes, this is one of my pages. I also, of course, am always logged into Facebook, I'm always on Gmail, but this thing over here is called NetVibes. NetVibes, N-E-T-V-I-B-E-S. It's basically an RSS reader that allows you to create these dashboards. In the class, we actually spend about an hour going through creating these dashboards, and kind of the most important thing about the dashboard is figuring out which websites and which, it's not just websites, it's what portions of websites and what searches you want to have on these websites. So in here, I've got all kinds of configurations. This is a Google blog search for VO. So I can, instead of going to Google and searching for VO, I can instantly see all the people that are talking within blogs about VO. I call this my chatter screen. It's kind of hard to see. I apologize. Let me see. Yeah, the plus isn't going to work so well in this one, unfortunately. Over here is a search on Twitter for VO. So everyone that's searching Twitter for VO, this is constantly updated. Here's a search on Twitter for @Dimitri, which is my username. I want to know what people are saying about me. Here's a search on Twitter for a company called iList, in which I'm an investor and sit on the board of. Here are various trends that I follow. There are all of these things that are pre-configured that gives me an information dashboard. This is about having information find you. Let me give you a quick example. In 2005, September of 2005, when I launched VO, We launched in the shadow of YouTube. YouTube by then had been out for 3 months. They were already giant. They were the Kleenex of video. And here we were launching what I thought a pretty good product, but nobody was using it. We started going out and soliciting people to go and, if you're an independent producer, publish to us. And a bunch of people were doing that, and that was great. But consumers still didn't come to us. I was in New York City traveling one day. I was in a cab. I looked at my BlackBerry, and I saw that I had an email. The email was a news alert from Google Alerts. How many of you guys use Google Alerts? Great. And the alert said that there was a rumor that Steve Jobs was going to announce an iPod that could support video. At that time, iPods only supported audio. I called up my PR woman, and I said, Jennifer, I need you to take draft me a press release. And she says, go ahead. Title, VIO will support the video iPod. And she says, what the hell is the video iPod? I said, I don't know. I don't know if it exists. I don't know if it will exist. I don't know if it'll be called the video iPod. But I just need to be ready with it. She's like, great, give me some bullets. Video is important on mobile devices, yada, 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 yada. I went into a meeting. I came out of the meeting. I saw there was another email saying, indeed, Steve Jobs did announce the video iPod, and with a whole bunch of very big partners, AOL and big studios and all these big people. I think there were about a half dozen partners. In that hour, a press release dropped from a company that nobody had ever heard of, VIO in San Diego, that said we were going to support the video iPod. I got home. The next day, I had a camera crew from CBS News pointing a camera at my face saying, tell us about your support for video iPod. About an hour after the press release dropped, my VP of engineering called me up and says, what the fuck are you talking about? We don't support the video iPod. I said, read the press release. It says VIO will support the video iPod. He said, it's unsupportable. I said, that's ridiculous. It connects to a computer. That means it's supportable. And about 45 minutes later, we were supporting the video iPod. It's computer science, not rocket science. If you can figure out how to configure these things, your life, it's called kind of life hacking. If you can figure out how to use technology to do the work for you, right? This computer stores stuff. This thing reminds me to take my vitamins. This thing reminds me that there's something that I'm interested in that has just come on the radar. All of this stuff, that's kind of stuff I'm talking about doing. Other questions? 10 minutes, yes, got it. We got 10 minutes for questions. Yes?
What we were just talking about, you were showing me earlier about some of the graphics and so forth. How does that differ from people like myself? I'm sure others have heard of Google Analytics.
That's great. Google Analytics is a great service. I use it. Today I've got Google Trends, which isn't analytics, but in fact, I teach Google Analytics in this class. What the cool thing is about having all this stuff configured on a dashboard is you can very quickly scan through it. You only have a limited amount of time in a day, and if you have to go to a website, navigate that website, constantly try to remember to go to a website, it takes up processing power, it takes up time, all that stuff doesn't work. Here, I can very quickly scan through documents. I don't even have to read them in a sense, right? I know what's happening. If something really catches my attention, then I can go in and drill down deeper into these things. But for the most part, as I scan these topics, I know that things are happening. And by the way, this is why I'm quoted in the press quite a lot, because press calls me up and says, tell me about this topic, because you're the subject matter expert. Well, here's the little clue, folks. I'm not the subject matter expert. I'm just much better at finding that information than they are. It's that simple. And I am because I know how to use these search tools, and I am because I have all of these dashboards pre-configured. This will take you, hours to do, to configure these dashboards, specifically for what you're interested in. But then it'll save you thousands and thousands of hours and give you, amazing tools that you don't have naturally. Other questions? Yes?
Can you talk a little bit about Google AdWords?
Sure. So, AdWords is Google's advertising engine that allows you to, to buy keywords if you're an advertiser and, with AdSense, and then also be able to, if you own a website, to be able to stick a line of code on your website to do it. It's actually part of a whole class that I teach called digital marketing. You can find it on Weekend View as well. Again, it's a one-day full class. We go through search engine optimization, how to have organic results within search engines, search engine marketing, which is what you're talking about, email marketing, which is opt-in email marketing, not spam. How do you market? How do you set up these autoresponders and set various ways to get people through it? Social media marketing, organic marketing, and all that. What specifically do you want to know about AdWords?
I was just wondering if you thought of suggestions kind of.
Yes, look, it's very important. I've spent over $2 million in VIO's career on various marketing initiatives. A lot of it has been spent on search engine marketing. I can tell you it's driven less than 2% of our traffic. The vast majority of the traffic has been done organically through search engine optimization and through social media marketing, which I actually find are much better ways to market. There are certain things that search engine marketing, SEM, is very good for. And then there are many things that other marketing methods are good for. But again, it's really a broad class, very difficult to kind of describe in a short amount of time, but very important. Yes?
Can you speak to SEO for a second, sort of coming at it from the other side, your top maybe 3 suggestions for not finding stuff that you want to be found?
Sure. Let me ask you a question first. What's the number one online video service in the world? Okay, 5 minutes yet. Somebody said Hulu, and YouTube. Any other suggestions? What? Well, that would be silly. We all know the answer to this question. Don't be shy. What's the answer? YouTube. YouTube is by far the largest online video service in the world. YouTube has a larger margin between it and its next competitor than Google has between it and its next competitor. In fact, I don't know of any segment of the internet where there's a deeper gap between the number one service and the second service. So if I do a search for online video, we know what the number one result is going to be. Look at this. All of a sudden, used to be VO, all of a sudden now it's OV guide. So somebody's playing around with search engine optimization. I'm going to have to deal with that, but you can see the second one is VO. Look at that. Foiled my attempt. We've been number one for a while. So OV guide has gone in there. How do you do this? Well, there are a whole bunch of things. Search engine optimization, first of all, this shows you, is an ongoing battle. It's not something you do and stop, because people will always find ways to game the algorithms and go above you. So it's a thing you constantly have to do, and it's a whole bunch of checkboxes that you have to check. The biggest ones that I found is, again, you remember I showed you some of these commands, in title, in URL, are extremely important. And so naming your documents properly, both from a meta tag title, this is within the document within HTML, and their name, the directory name, the domain name, the file name, is extremely important. You need to pick which phrase you want to be found on. You can't be found on everything, right? Google looks at word densities primarily. And so for us, it's been the phrase online video. For YouTube, actually, it's broadcast yourself. If you do a search for broadcast yourself, you'll find YouTube, but clearly that's not the best phrase. By the way, they didn't need to do search engine optimization. They just built a great product, and people used it, and they were out at the right time, and it worked. And so you want to have, the simplest thing you can do is you want to have your phrase repeat twice, but not in a specific order. So online video, videos online, online video, you can see here in the top. And then within the document, you want to have 2 to 3% of your words be those keywords that you want to be found on. That seems to be the magic number. If you go above that, it looks as though you're trying to manipulate the search engine. If you go below that, it becomes irrelevant. So 2 to 3%. And look, there are a whole bunch of tools. Again, we teach a 2-hour section of search engine optimization, all the things you kind of need to know about search engine optimization in the digital marketing class. One more question? No problem. If you guys want some cards, I'll give you these cards, and you can take a look at our classes. Like I said, the next one is on Saturday at UCLA. There's a discount on here. It gives you $100 off. If you're a UCLA alumni, you can get $150 off. If you're a UCLA student, you can get $200 off. The price of the class is $500. So with this, it's $400. It's a full day. Right? Thank you.